Pace has dropped. It's a wall pass Wednesday. There's a lot to get into over the next 2+ hours. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Today we're probably going long. Tomorrow we're definitely going long. Friday, I think we'll be all right. I think Friday we might be a little long and back to normal. But here's what we got going on today. We got to go over what happened last night at Mercedes-Benz. And we've got sound from Auston Trusty, sound from Weston McKennie, and sound from Mauricio Pochettino. We'll go over the numbers, go over the stats, anything else that's on your mind when it comes to what happened last night. Portugal over the U.S. in another preseason match leading up to the World Cup, 2-0 the final score. Like I said, we'll go over all the numbers in a bit. We now know the full field of 48. Late last night, if you were listening to Atlanta Soccer Tonight, it turned into a bit of pirate radio because it went past 1 a.m., like 1:04, but you get my point. The last match on the board, Bolivia and Iraq. It went past 1 o'clock in the morning. We now know who won. We now know who the field of 48 is. It was a busy day yesterday in Europe and in the Intercontinental playoffs. We now know the Atlanta grid at Atlanta Stadium. We now know where everybody's going to be and when and what the groups are. So we'll get into what happened yesterday in the World Cup qualifying outside of watching the U.S. men's national team. So we've got U.S. men's national team. Field of 48 is officially done. Then we, in hour number one, going to play a little bit of an interview. We're going to start our coverage of the UPSL here this week. And it's an interview with North Georgia United's Jaycee Carpenter. And Jaycee had, for those of you that may not know, Jaycee Carpenter spent his high school years at Campbell in Smyrna. And he had the opportunity through contacts and such in his time at North Georgia United as he was continuing to grow in the UPSL. Got a phone call, or whatever agents do these days. He received communication from a club in the second division in Spain, the Segunda, Sporting Gijón, and got to spend 2 weeks over there and learn about what he needs to work on to be ready for that level. And we talked to him for about 25 minutes. We're not going to play the whole thing. We'll play you a little bit of it. The rest of it will be released as a podcast later today. And we find out what it was like for him to be the fish out of water, what it was like for him at Campbell to continue to grow, to be ready for the next level, wherever that is, what he's learned about himself at North Georgia United. We're going to play a little bit of that interview in the 9:30 half hour. That gets us to 10 o'clock. And we will try and catch up with the busiest man in the Northeast, in Dylan Butler. And Dylan, I'm wondering if he's on the desk tonight, because tonight is the second day of the first stage of the round of 32, if that makes any sense. So after this go-round, you'll have 16 survivors. Then you bring in Major League Soccer. Then you have a recap of you have a re-32ing, and then you go from there. We did have some Cupsets last night. We'll have some of the highlights for you there. We'll go over juice boxes for Open Cup and see how many Cupsets we end up with today, and we cover them again tomorrow. And I better write it down, because tomorrow's show, if you thought today was absolutely jammed, tomorrow is beyond jammed. And since I'm writing it down, Rob Valentino is joining us at 9 o'clock. We're starting 5 minutes early. U.S. Soccer said Rob's available at 9. Okay, we're starting at 9. 9:45, Jen Hildreth's going to join us. And we're going to talk a little bit about the NWSL, since that's where her boothing is gravitating. She had a very, very busy March. 17 events called in 1 month. College basketball, we'll get into that. But we're going to talk NWSL with Jen at 9:45. Then we have the Power Hour from 10 to 11 with Nino and Nico. Then after that, you're going to hear from Kira Krinian, the women's national team U17 coach, since they have recently qualified for the U17 World Cup in Morocco later this year. So we're going to hear from her. We're going to tape it this afternoon. You're going to hear it in the show tomorrow. So that's the rundown of tomorrow. Rob Valentino, Jen Hildreth, Nino and Nico, Open Cup, Kira Krinian from the U.S. women's national team. That's tomorrow. Friday, Chris Doran's going to join us at 9:05, the play-by-play voice of Columbus Crew for Opposition Research. I believe he has an alternate title for his segment. See if we can catch up with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring, see if Greg Garza is in country. Friends from Apple TV are available at 10 o'clock, and we'll see who we get there. And that reminds me, I'm going to send an email to our friends at Apple and see if anyone is around. Let's see. So, and I'm going to do that right now. So, in lieu of being at Atlanta Stadium yesterday. Okay. All right. So let's see if let's see who we end up getting for our 10 o'clock Friday visit for Friday morning. So that's that'll be where we are. And okay. Who can join for Friday morning? Be nice if I could spell and type quickly, but apparently I can't. All right, so sending this email to our friends at Apple, and we'll find out who we might be able to get from Apple TV. And so that'll be Friday. So Friday is Chris Doran, play-by-play Opposition Research. Hopefully our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring, Apple TV at 10. We'll set up your weekend. So there you go. That's the next couple of days. Like I said, today is jammed. And if you thought today was jammed, tomorrow's going to be even more so. And it's going to, like I said, we're going long tomorrow. That much I do know. I mean, so literally it's going to be a show that flies, but there's going to be a lot to talk about. We're going to have a lot of guests to come in to talk about said show and talk about the contents of said show. So today, once again, USMNT, you're going to hear from Mauricio Pochettino, Auston Trusty, Weston McKennie. That we've got. We'll go over the numbers and any concerns and all of that stuff. Once again, you had some folks, I think, reinforce that they were to belong on the national team. And I think you might have had some folks that played themselves out of starting positions and starting roles. We'll go over the friendlies as well. Also, apparently, Great Britain is gripping just as much after their 1-0 loss to Japan. So we'll get into all of that stuff here in hour number one, lead you into the UPSL conversation with our bit of an interview with our friend Jaycee Carpenter at North Georgia United. And thanks to North Georgia United for brokering that, by the way. Then it's Dylan. Then it's Open Cup and Cupsets and everything else that happened. The field is set, all the things, and that's the show. And like I said, we're going long today. Red Clay is at noon, and we catch up with your up-to-date scoreboard rankings from our friends at Scoreboard. Schedule for today. And Taylor Summerall, the head coach of Calhoun, after their big upset last night on the girls' side, and we'll catch up with him and find out what's going on up there in Calhoun. So he'll join us about 12:40 when he's ready for lunch. Hopefully we won't steal a whole lot of his lunch time, but that's going to be Red Clay from noon to 1 here on the network. So that's your rundown. The next, wow. I mean, it was the next couple of days are going to be just fast and furious. So there we go. All right. And this is another thing. Today. Abby, I did not see Charlie. I did not. I forgot what I was going to say. But, this is what I was going to say. Today. We all know how we are locked in on social media and headlines and things. For those of you watching live on the video side, you see my second liner on my lower third. I said, it says John Nelson, and I said, isn't April fooling? Just be careful what you read today attached in your timelines, because you're going to have those accounts that just pop up today, and there might be a letter off in a spelling. That's it's like, okay, so Adam Schefter with 2 F's or 2 T's or 2 R's or 2 D's or M's or whatever. Whatever your sources are and whatever your favorite sport, keep an eye on your social media today. And if you see something that's wild, it's because it probably is. If you see something wild, follow along with your other sources, see if there's anything there, see if there's a letter that's off or a letter that's added, see if the name is misspelled and a handle that's off. Today is going to be one of those days. Started yesterday, actually, so it's almost getting to the point to where April Fools and social media are kind of turning into Black Friday now, where they're starting a couple of days early when it comes to their stuff. So today, when you're watching on social media, if you're following along, then follow your sources and check spellings and things like that. Just be careful with your social media today, because some folks think it's funny to do wild-ish and present it on social media as fact. So just be careful with your social media today in your reading. If you're scanning, scan a little slower to make sure that you're getting the information that you need and that you're consuming it as you are, and you always do. But today, people have a tendency to be a little bit more over the top and be a little stupid with their stuff. So just check your sources, and your spellings and trusting of social media today. And that's your PSA. And by the way, that PSA is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. We start your day with the most important stories in the game. Right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate. I'll have to take your word for it on how it tastes, since I'm not the coffee guy around here. Rich world-class finishes while opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Okay, so last night, where were you? What were you watching? And what's on your mind? 2-0 loss for the United States in another match that does not count for anything except for the United States. And like I said, we'll hear from Mauricio Pochettino in a bit. So the notion of continuing to learn and figure out, okay, does it need to be 3 at the back and then turn into a 5 and then 4 in the attack? The answer is probably yes. That we've learned, and then it's just trying to figure out personnel. It was a handful of changes from the match on the weekend, and the lineup that was there for the United States. Matt Freese was in net. And I think, obviously, if you're looking for positives, Matt Freese is probably a number one. Considering the saves that he made on the night, 3 saves, one of them big, and one that was later than late to keep a third one out of the net. So Matt Freese was your starter. Alex Freeman, Chris Richards, Auston Trusty, and Anthony Robinson. Then it was in the midfield, Tim Weah, Aiden Morris, Sebastian Berhalter, Malik Tillman. And so the way that it's being looked at in some circles is a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, 3 center backs, 5 at the back, 4 in attack, just however you wish to look at it. But, if you want to say 3-4-2-1, 5 at the back, you have your wing backs play back a little bit, then you end up with maybe 3 or 4 in the attack with your 6 playing a little deeper. So then that was your midfield. Forwards, you had Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie. A couple of folks were subbed in at 45. You had Patrick Agyemang come in late. Valerian Balogun came in second half. Max Auston came in second half. Tanner Tessman, Joe Scally came in. You also had cups of coffee for Mark McKenzie, Christian Roldan, Brendan Aronson, and Gio Reyna. So Pochettino, once again, making 6 changes. Starters of both matches: Jedi Robinson, Weston McKennie, Christian Pulisic, Tim Weah, Malik Tillman. Next up for the United States, it is Senegal in Charlotte, May 31st. Then Germany in Chicago on June 6th. Reyna came in with 11 minutes to go for Alex Freeman. McKenzie came in at 90+1 for Trusty, and this is the other element in this. Auston came in to the mix zone after the match. Didn't seem like he was walking with any difficulty, considering he was pulled after hurting himself and late and going over the end line. So Auston Trusty in the mix zone last night was walking fairly well. No signs of any pain or anything like that, but obviously he'll be monitored as he goes back overseas. Max Auston came in for Jedi in the beginning of the second half. Valerian Balogun came in the 67th along with Joe Scally for Weah and Tillman. Tanner Tessman was a part of the group that was subbed in at the beginning of the second half. McKennie only goes 45. Pulisic goes only 45. Big Pat gives you another 45 there. Roldan came in for Aiden Morris, who I thought showed really well and played 79 minutes on the day. It was 9 changes for Portugal. Jose Sa got the start. Diogo Dalot, Tomas Araujo, Ignacio, Joao Cancelo, Samu, Vitinha, Trincao, Bruno Fernandes, Pedro Neto, and Gonzalo Ramos. You ended at yellows were Christian Pulisic and Joao Cancelo. Cancelo's was in the 34th. Pulisic's was in 45 plus 2. After he was taken down inside the 18, no foul was called by Sven Jablonski, and you could tell how frustrated Christian Pulisic was. And it was very demonstrative, and Sven Jablonski wasn't having it, and he gave him a yellow card. Shots 12-11 on the night. Shots on target, 5 for Portugal, 3 for the United States, 3 saves each, 10 corner kicks, 8 of them went to Portugal on the night, 21 fouls, 15 of them against the United States, 3 offsides, and possession was 62-38. So you end up with that as the game report kind of things. We'll get into individual performances here, courtesy of our friends at SofaScore. And when you look at the combinations that were there, I thought that Chris Richards, coming off of injury and sitting out match number 1, I thought he acquitted himself very well at the back. I think that he and Auston Trusty, they turned into a decent duo as 2 of your center backs in the back. Then you had, obviously, Jedi Robinson at the left. You had Alex Freeman, who I know a lot of folks were looking at to be the starter at right back. And so you had that was your back 4. So looking at the numbers themselves from just another couple of folks, when it came to individual performance numbers, you had some of the higher marks on the night went to Malik Tillman and to Auston Trusty at the back. Auston Trusty and Matt Freese, obviously, for what he did. But let's get into Auston Trusty's numbers once again. Played 89. And defensively, 12 defensive contributions for Trusty on the night, won both of his tackles, had 9 clearances, 1 block, 6 recoveries, was 5 of 7 on his duels on the evening. Trusty on the dribble at 66 touches, had 1 successful dribble and a negative in carrying distance. Passing for Trusty, most of it was up the left-hand side. 41 of 47 passing, had completed 3 long balls on the night, and no shots for Trusty on the day. Chris Richards, by comparison, off to his right. Obviously, the big numbers for Chris Richards were defending. 7 contributions, 7 clearances for Chris Richards, 4 recoveries, and that was pretty much the larger material that was there for Chris Richards. Then you end up with, let me just go over Matt Freese's numbers quickly. And like I said, I think that Matt Freese pretty much solidified himself as the number 1. It was 3 total saves, 2 from inside the box for Matt Freese, 1 defensive contribution, 1 clearance, 4 recoveries for him on the night. And then when it came to passing and distribution, it was most of it straight up the middle of the park. 16 to 22 passing, 3 long ball completions, and then 2 completions of passes in the opponent's half. So from the back line, those would be the numbers and the folks that I would pay attention to. Aiden Morris, by the way, who was paired with Berhalter and McKennie in the midfield. And I'm using, like I said, I'll use the word paired as kind of a thing in quotes. Aiden Morris on the night had 2 key passes, 84% passing on 43 attempts, 2 long balls for Aiden Morris. On the dribble, he did have a positive progression and a carrying distance of over 173 meters. Defensively, for Aiden Morris, 3 defensive contributions, 1 his only tackle, 1 interception, 1 clear, 4 recoveries, and he was 2 for 2 on his ground duels. So those were the numbers there. Malik Tillman, once again, highest rated position player on the night for the United States. 67 minutes in, once again, subbed out for Joe Scally. It was 2 total shots for Malik Tillman. He had graded the highest of the U.S. players in the first 45 and graded highest in the second 45 over 90 minutes total. Passing for Malik Tillman, he had 2 key passes on the night, 12 of 14 passing, and connected on 2 long balls. On the dribble, Malik Tillman, 23 touches, and it was once again 2 progressive carries. Longest progressive carry was over 25 meters for Tillman. Defensively for Malik Tillman, 1 defensive contribution, 1 tackle, 4 recoveries, and he won his 1 ground duel on the evening. So that was the numbers for a lot of the subs and some of the talking points for the starting 11 for Mauricio Pochettino in this matchup against Portugal at Atlanta Stadium. I guess we have to get used to saying Atlanta Stadium now. So going into that, now that we've gone through the numbers, and I know that you guys are having a great conversation in the Twitch pitch this morning, let's go through some of the particulars and catch up with some of the players. First one that we're going to catch up with is Auston Trusty, and this was in the mix zone last night. And so here's your Q&A in the scrum, part of the scrum with Auston Trusty from last night after the match was over with the U.S. men's national team in Portugal.
Not getting away that easy.
That easy. So what's it like out there for you tonight?
Good. Obviously, they're top side. Obviously, a big nation, big experience at this level. But I felt really good. I felt confident. I felt comfortable. And sad we didn't get the win.
Where does this team stand now, you think, heading into roster decisions and then the World Cup?
Obviously, we're all fighting for a spot. We're all fighting for a position on this team. But at the same time, as a team, as a collective, yes, we lost these games, and obviously it's not beneficial for us in that way. But on the bright side, take the losses, and we can find ways to get better as a team.
Auston, I know you guys are used to playing in the States. The ground's going to feel a little neutral at times. How did you guys feel about playing here in Atlanta over these 2 games?
Good. Atlanta is a great city for us to play in. Obviously, the almost 80,000 fans, I think I heard the announcer say. Yeah, obviously to play here and play in this atmosphere, it's really, really good.
Felt like a home crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. And to see the red, white, and blue, and even the national anthem, they just get hype. But it's really good.
Do you have a good idea of where you stand as far as making the World Cup roster, and how hard is it going to be to wait like 2 months to get a call?
Just focus on myself. I can only control what I can control, which is go back to Celtic, do my thing, play my game, and obviously get the opportunity here and showcase my abilities. But I can only control what I can
As you
control.
get to May 23rd, 4th, 5th, are you going to be nervous waiting for the phone to ring?
Well, hopefully that time when with Celtic and we're playing Cup final, that's the only thing I'll be focusing on.
Just on that, Mauricio Pochettino has actually said he's not going to make phone calls to the players that are not successful in the World Cup. What do the players make of that he's only going to directly call the ones that have made it? Everyone else is going to face a nervous wait.
I haven't heard anything about that. That's new. Sorry, that's new information to me. I don't really have an opinion on that, really.
I guess it's just Pochettino's logic is a player that doesn't make it, doesn't want a phone call from him. Is that your perspective as well?
I don't know. Obviously, if you don't get the call, it's not a good situation regardless. So I don't know how they want to do that.
As a group, just what do you feel like you guys learned about yourselves tonight?
They're a good side. Obviously, we could have done a lot of things better. But at the same time, we had to take the positives out of this and move forward. Obviously, we lost the game. Not ideal, but there's many things to build on. That's positive.
What are the positives?
Things to build on. Obviously, to see a competition at that level, and also the ruthlessness of the finishing. That's a positive takeaway because you can see it. Obviously, when we play against a smaller side, sometimes you don't really get exposed, and you don't really see many aspects of the game or many situations you're in. But to be put in certain situations in the game today, as a squad collectively, it's things to build on because we can see it.
Auston Trusty after the match last night, and Del, I know that you mentioned in the Twitch pitch about leaving Joao Felix that wide open. You got to step out. You got to step out on something like that. I think that if you have if the ball is recycled outside the 18, as it was, and Kyle Martino made this point last night on the broadcast, that if Joao Felix hits that first touch, then you tip your hat, you sit there and go, good day, nicely done, and you move on, you dust yourself off, and you figure out where you're going from here. But Joao Felix had the opportunity to, as the ball floated out to him, settle it, have it, calm it down, and bounces once, and then he hits it, and then it goes in the back of the net. You got to step out on that stuff. People in Atlanta know all about stepping out and what you got to do to prevent goals. That did not happen in the Joao Felix goal last night. I still tip my hat to him a little bit for the command and control, but yeah, you got to step out in a situation like that. The first goal, if you look at it and the way that Maddie and I were positioned, we were basically in zone, and the offense was heading, the Portugal offense was heading away from us toward the supporters section. We were basically opposite and behind the Portuguese goal and Jose saw in the first 45. So in transition, you see Bruno Fernandes, and he goes inside the 18, but you also see great work by Trusty, and I believe it was Chris Richards, where they're ushering Bruno Fernandes away from the straight line on the inside channel. You were doing the right thing. You were forcing him out. The back heel was filthy. That I'll tip my hat to. But then once again, in transition, you have players for Portugal beating the players from the United States back inside the 18. And so when you have that, it's a drop-off, and then there's plenty of space around the shooter, and then it goes in the net, and then that's pretty much how that's all she wrote, as the kids say. So, for me, it was literally that first goal. I worked backwards, but the goal by Trincao was Trincao being a trailer and Bruno Fernandes with a great piece of individual skill. But once again, no one had followed Trincao, and the center backs, once again, the two defenders shielding Bruno Fernandes did the right thing. Keeping him away from the inner channel, keeping him away from a straight shot to the near post. You ushered him out to make his angle hard. But, you have that back heel that finds Trincao. Trincao has a lot of space, and he puts it past Matt Freese for 1-0. The Joao Felix goal, you got to close out. You got to close shop. You got to go out and meet him. Make it difficult. They didn't do that, and you end up with a shot that gets in the net and made it 2. Matt Freese, once again, came up big a couple of times. Trincao and Joao Felix, 22 minutes apart on the soccer clock. 37th and 59th, 2-1, and that was your final. So we've heard from Auston Trusty. Now let's hear from Weston McKennie. Once again, this is in the mix zone. This is part of the conversation that we all got to have with Weston McKennie after last night. And I'll change the lower third because it's a different person. Once again, this is us in the mix zone with Weston McKennie after last night.
Weston McKennie.
Weston,
Okay.
what do you think of where the team stands now after this camp, and next time you get together is not until for World Cup preparation? Where do you think things are right now?
Yeah, no, I think we're heading in the right direction. I think we're obviously it's hard to say we're where we want to be and with results like this, but I think we take a lot of positives away from the games that we played, and we see that we can keep up. I think we just need to figure out how to be able to stay in the game if we don't finish chances that we have early on. But I ultimately think, as you saw in both of the games, with our high intensity, with the pressure that we put and the way that we play, we dominated the first halves, and obviously they had some chances as well. But I think we were definitely toe to toe, and we just can't let things slip away. But I think we're happy with obviously not the results, but we're happy with the things that we saw, because it's things that we trained on and things that we worked on and whatnot. So we'll use it as a stepping stone going into the next camp.
Weston, if you take away just the results, what do you take away? Forget the results of these two past games. What do you take away from playing in Atlanta? Did it feel like a home crowd? Did it feel like a World Cup prep?
Yeah, I mean, today was a great show. Obviously, our team colors are also red, so I don't know if it was Portugal fans or our fans, but no, it was definitely a great show out, and definitely something that gets us excited as well to be able to play a World Cup on home soil, and we I won't say we expect it, but we definitely hope that the fans and everyone will come out and be behind us and support us.
How do you get that consistency over 90 minutes? You mentioned the fast start and going toe-to-toe with Portugal against elite opposition, and you'll have Senegal and Germany to come. How do you make sure that you put in a 90-minute shift?
Yeah, I think obviously by figuring out the little things that we can do that doesn't leave us exposed in some situations if we do lose the ball, and also just having the confidence to finish the chances that we have early on, because I do think that our type of game that we play is very energetic and very more high press, but I think we want to be structured. We want to be able to, if we're not finishing chances, we want to be able to hold the game to a 0-0 type thing, and not allow the opponents to score. So, yeah, I think going into the next games, Senegal and Germany, that's something that we'll definitely look into and we'll work on, and hopefully it'll be better in that time.
Weston McKennie, after the match last night, once again at the Benz. I know that I'm trying myself to get into the habit of expressing it as Atlanta Stadium because of what it will be reported as with sponsorships and such. Although it is going to be, I'm going to be, sidebar, before we get into Mauricio Pochettino here in a sec, I'm going to be intrigued with the coverage when you have your game days here and how the skyline is going to be shot, or if you are going to have the same stock piece of video shown over and over and over again. Are they going to show a stock piece of video with the roof open? Because there was an initial discussion that for Mercedes-Benz Stadium that you've got to cover up all of the Mercedes-Benz-ness that is there. But there is one piece that cannot be adjusted or altered in any way, and it's the Venus flytrap, the radio dial at the top that opens the dome, that opens the roof up. That Mercedes-Benz logo is going to stay the entire time. So, are you going to see shots of Mercedes-Benz Stadium as Atlanta Stadium with the roof open, so you don't see that so you don't see the circular logo with the trident in there? Or are you going to have it angled in a way where if the roof is closed, that the angle of the shot is going to be so far away from downtown, and you'll see like way in the background on the left, it's going to be a closed roofed Atlanta Stadium, but you won't be able to make out the logo. I'm thinking it's going to be that. I'm thinking you're going to see this great panoramic shot of downtown and off to the side and the back, and from Atlanta Stadium, it's World Cup 26. You'll see the roof is closed, or you won't be able to, you'll see the chopper will have gotten itself to a couple hundred feet off the ground to where it'll be even with the stadium. The roof will be closed. It'll be even with the stadium. And then you'll kind of see, oh yeah, there's Atlanta Stadium over there. And then they'll go from that wide shot and then they'll dissolve into the building in and of itself. So I think that if you do that, then I think you kind of find a way to get around it. And then do they show that shot the entire time? You're going to have a couple of shots like early morning. You're going to have early morning because of the noon kick. So it's going to be like this breakfast shot with the sun coming from behind the chopper, and it's going to be, the panoramic shot, and the sun will be from behind. It'll be bright, shiny morning in June here in Atlanta, Georgia, where at Atlanta Stadium it is, X. DR Congo and Uzbekistan. And that's going to be a great sickos game. I don't care what anybody says. We'll get into both of those teams and what happened yesterday in European qualifying in a bit, plus your Intercontinentals. We'll get into that. Dylan Butler sends his regrets because he was on the desk last night and he had to put up with the Canadian men's national team delay that was because of weather in Toronto. So he sends his regrets. We'll keep on plugging. We may not go as long now over as we would have before. So my guess is you're going to have to shoot that chopper shot a couple different times. Once in the morning, once around lunch. But then for me, I'm looking at continuity. And I will be looking at continuity to see if there is a shot that percolates through that is of an open roof, and the roof won't be open. So the rest of us that'll be watching the matches themselves will sit there and go, hey, wait a minute. That isn't congruent video. And that's one of the other things that hopefully over time you will have figured out with me. Incongruent video drives me crazy. Video that has nothing to do with what's currently going on drives me nuts. Video that is old drives me nuts. Yeah, Atlanta United in the shot when the roof is open. Absolutely. You'll see like red teams wandering around down on the bottom of the field. There was one piece of video, and I think, and this is one that really drove me crazy, and it had to do with an event in Jacksonville, Florida. I think it was a nighttime NFL game. And they showed video from the waterfront and, St. John's River and the bridges and everything. They showed a video of that area of Jacksonville with the Motus Tower. And I don't think the Motus Tower has existed in Jacksonville for a decade. And it said Motus, like right on top of it said Motus. And so literally you had that video trotting out and it was like, okay, here's St. John's River, Nightside, Jacksonville, Florida, and the Motus Tower is there. And this was like this past season. So as the consumers that you are, keep track of those kinds of things during the tournament, if you would, please. And then come back and report as we continue to report on a daily basis as we do. So, and Michael, that would be absolutely hilarious if they call it Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Because honestly, for those of us who are locals, that's the first thing that pops into my head. When they call it Atlanta Stadium, let's just call it Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Why not? Michael, I think, is probably out on the golf course waiting to sit there and tell people to hurry up this morning. Or he's waiting for the dew to come off of the green so they can start playing. But yes, I think we should call it Atlanta Fulton County Stadium anyway. At least during that 7-week period. But yeah, keep an eye on congruent video. Please report back congruent video as you see it, incongruent video as you see it. And we will effort to continue to have this discussion about video that is congruent, incongruent, and what have you. Interview coming up as we have our UPSL coverage coming up. Jaycee Carpenter, we're going to play a little bit of his interview coming up here in just a little bit once we finish our USMNT coverage. Then after that, we'll get into Europe, the other qualifiers. Then we'll get into Open Cup, and we'll get you ready for the rest of the day. So that's the rundown for the rest of the morning. Like I said, Dylan Butler sends his regrets because he was on the desk last night and had to deal with the weather delay involving the Canadian men's national team. So one more interview that we have here, and this comes from the press conference from last night. The way that it worked, just to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, you had the United States going first in the press conference room, and it was Mauricio Pochettino. Everybody had international flights, and so the communications staff, media relations staff, they were trying to kind of do this on the hop. So it was U.S. men's national team first in the press conference room. Then we would leave, and then we'd go to the mix zone and get everybody else. As we were leaving, that would be when Roberto Martinez would come in, discuss things for Portugal. So if anybody can find and let me know what happened with Roberto Martinez last night, that'd be great. Because I was out the door, and I was heading to the mix zone the second Pochettino was done. Because players had to catch flights to go back to their jobs. Here is, and he went for about 20 minutes last night and actually asked for more questions. He thought he was looking at his time, and he actually asked for more questions. But this was at about the 13-minute mark. And I thought that this was a telling question and answer for Mauricio Pochettino and for all of us as we're consuming the U.S. men's national team going forward, getting ready for this last camp, those last two matches, and then the World Cup. He was asked if he was frustrated or if he should be frustrated with what happened in the two matches this past weekend here in Atlanta. Now, here is Mauricio Pochettino's response, and this is unedited because you know me, I don't really like to do sound bites. I want to do context here. So this is his entire response. It's worth your time because he goes from A to Z on this. So here's Mauricio Pochettino asked about being frustrated. Should he be? Is he? After what he saw with the team that he brought here to Atlanta for these two matches. Once again, Mauricio Pochettino last night after the 2-0 loss to Portugal.
We are USA. And we are competing again. Belgium, Portugal. I think for sure Belgium and Portugal have in the top 100 player few or some player playing in that top 100. I think we don't have. That is why it's good to play again this type of team. Frustrate? No, I am not. The frustration is not a frustration. It's good to see because what I saw from my players today, even if Christian was a little bit frustrated, no, but if you compare Christian, the first game and the second game, that second game of Christian, he can improve from this type of performance. Because when you start to show that you feel, when you care, and you frustrate, it's because you want to win. You want to fight. You want to go, and you want to score, and you want to take the ball, and you want to help the team. That is, for me, is the difference. And I think frustration, no, is good to have this type of games when you are building something. It's not only that you need to tell this guy that this is going to happen if we don't do that or this or that. It's important that after the experience that you are living there, when you feel that the opponent is really good, when you recover the ball and give the ball quick because bad pass, bad control or technique, but then when the first control is good and play quick and you need to run and you need to chase in, I think that is a thing that you start to experience, to have the experience and to live and to live inside of the pitch. I think is massive lesson for us. That is why I think we are on time. Also, our decision need to be right because that is good test to make good decision for the future. Like you say, today we play maybe with a different characteristics, more midfielder, Christian in front, maybe, or after, and then we finish with two striker and see how the team behave. You know, this is more solid, less solid. We can create less chances. It's not because you play with three strikers you can create more chances because you are less solid and you have less capacity to create, links in the half space and or to build from up. But I think it's a positive thing to. I think we cannot be negative only because of the result, but of course the results are negative, but are not official games. And first, for us, it's fair to compete better, to learn all this, to go to the result, because we cannot go to the result if we not compete well. We are not giving or doing the thing that we need to do if we want to be in the top.
Mauricio Pochettino after last night. And I wanted to play that whole thing. And I know that it was over 3 minutes long, but I thought it was worth your time. So there were a couple of things in there that Mauricio Pochettino said. For Christian Pulisic in the second match, and to look at his performance over 45 minutes to see that Christian is frustrated means that everybody knows he can do better. And you could tell that Christian Pulisic was very frustrated last night. And there were times where he was bracketed and double teamed and he wasn't able to find help and create from there. To Mauricio Pochettino's point, it's good to have games when you're building, yes. And he says that they're on time. He said, we're on time. And then decisions need to be right. And that's something that we talk about every single match day. After every single match day, when we look at whatever game we're talking about, whatever part of living we're talking about here, we always talk about decisions needing to be right, game state. And if we look at the two goals, and we broke them down here a handful of minutes ago, first decisions on Bruno Fernandes were the right decisions. Ushering him off at an angle to make his shot attempt, if that was the direction he was going to go, make it difficult and give him an acute angle to give Matt Freese a chance to cover the near post for any kind of a shot. But in transition, no one bringing and no one following Trincao, once again, that's a decision. You're trying to come back in transition. I mean, you're coming back in transition if you're Portugal. The two defenders are going with Bruno Fernandes. That was correct to usher him off to the side. But then you have either marking or zones or what have you that lets Trincao be wide open in transition behind for the easy shot on target. Second goal, once again, it's about decisions. Cleared first, then for the defenders to not step out. So Joao Felix has a chance to not only gain possession, but gain possession, settle, and half volley for a shot. The second that ball comes down and you see Joao Felix camping out and getting ready for it, a decision to step out needs to be made. That did not happen. So it's about these individual moments that we always talk about, and we always talk about game state and all these kinds of things. So decisions need to be right. That was another thing that Pochettino said. And he says you can't be negative on the result because these aren't official games. I would say that after the 5-2 loss to Belgium, one of the things that I was looking for was fight. After you get that first goal, did you fight for the remainder of the first half? Then, on the second goal, it's made 2. You've got 30 minutes to go. And yes, substitutions were made. I think it was 6 or 7 substitutions after that point. So, with those individuals, you know that there's going to be miscommunication and all of that kind of stuff. That's game state. I get it. But how did they respond after the second goal by Joao Felix compared to how did they respond in the matchup against Belgium? I thought they responded better. Regardless of who was out there and for however long they were out there, in the Belgium match, you had 2 goals in 6, 3 goals in 16. That can't happen. When that did in a matchup against Belgium, what do you learn from it? Do you respond differently? That was one of the things I was looking at after the Joao Felix goal. You're down 2-0, 30 to go. How do you respond? I thought they responded better. Like I said, regardless of the amount of minutes that somebody was out there and what the lineup was looking like, I thought they responded better and did not have 2 turn into 3, turn into 4, turn into 5. Against Belgium, remember, you scored first. Then you give up 5. 3 and 16 in the second half. Luca Bacchio gets a brace, and then Big Pat scores with 3 minutes to go. But you gave up 5 in a row. If you're going to go where you think you will be going in a World Cup, I thought they responded better this time around than they did in response to the goals that were being scored by Belgium. And so Abby says she's not negative on results. She's negative on effort. And it comes down to, we always talk about moments. And it's effort in those moments. If you really want to boil it down into those particular points, it is literally you're boiling it down into the effort in those moments. Make the decision to step out on Joao Felix. Ball's floating in the air. Joao Felix, he's got this halo of green around him. What do? You close him down. So he can't make the shot that he ended up making for goal number 2. You got to close that down. So, like I said, Wiley, I'm there with you. Close it down. Ball's in the air. You see where it's headed. Make sure that someone's going there with you to win the second ball if it comes to that kind of an opportunity at the edge of the 18. So Mauricio Pochettino says they're on time. You can't be negative on the result because they're not official games. You went up against two teams in the top 10, basically. Portugal ranked at number 6. Belgium also top 10, depending on, what poll you look at. US 15 or 16, depending on who you look at. So Pochettino says they're on time. So we'll see. But I think that you also had folks that played themselves into consideration. I think you also, during their time here in Atlanta, you had folks play themselves out of starting consideration. I thought that you had Auston Trusty acquit himself very well. Chris Richards, once again, reminds us why he's going to be starting in that starting lineup. I thought Aiden Morris acquitted himself pretty well. And he was running around and he was getting into tackles and things like that. I thought Aiden Morris's stock improved. Sebastian Berhalter, I think it once again reinforced what we've been seeing with him from his time as he's been growing in Vancouver. So there were, like I said, there were some folks that might have played themselves more into consideration than they had before. And then there were some folks that probably played themselves out of it. So we'll keep an eye on all of that stuff. And it was great to see a lot of you there. Announced crowd of over 77,000, I believe was what it was. And it was a packed house. And once again, it was great to see. 72,297 was the number. So in 2 matches, you had almost 140,000 folks, 139,000 folks in 2 matches in Atlanta. So obviously getting these matches and having folks attend them, that's a real problem. Yeah, it's a real problem having 2 matches. And I had anticipated, I will say this before we move on quickly to our UPSL coverage here at the top of the hour. I will say this. I legitimately thought that it was going to be less last night than it was on the weekend because it was ticket 18. It was a Tuesday night. I legitimately thought that it was going to be a lower crowd than the 66 that was there for the first one. But I was wrong. You had a lot of fans of Portugal who I anticipated buying tickets initially because of the idea of possibly seeing Cristiano Ronaldo. But CR41 was back home nursing a muscle injury. And frankly, I think they play better without him. Instead of having to make sure that Cristiano is fed the ball and he gets to have his moments, I thought they played better without him. And I think they do. Bruno Fernandes, Joao Felix, Vitinha, Trincao, Conceição. I mean, look, they come at you in waves. And so I think that going forward, you're looking for those players for the United States that can give you that match of elevating their game. What we're used to seeing, we all have a baseline for what we know from the men's national team players. Can they, whomever you're thinking about in your head, can they give me in a moment and a match of import an elevated performance that can bring home and reinforce bringing home a result? If you've got a lead against somebody in the World Cup, can those defenders and those midfielders who are going to be defending to preserve that lead, can they give me that little extra? Can they give me that performance where it's, instead of it being like a 6.5 or a 7 normally, can I get an 8 or an 8.5? As we get into the World Cup, I think that as your number 15 in the world, if we take that number 15, we sit there, we take that number 15. And you take that as the 15th ranked team in the world, I think a reasonable expectation for this group is to be in the round of 16 and then see what happens. Get out of group, but getting out of group might be a little difficult considering that we found out that Turkey is going to be your final match day after the results yesterday. Get out of group, win a knockout because you're on your home soil. I think that is a realistic expectation. This group can go any one of two ways. The group that the U.S. is in, you could win them all, or you could lose and crash. But I think a realistic expectation is to get out of group, win a knockout, get into the round of 16, and then see what happens. I think that's a realistic expectation, considering you're at home and you have the players that you have. So that, for me anyway, is a realistic expectation. As the number 15 team in the world, you should be in the round of 16 and then see what happens. If you apply the numbers and the rankings and work your way down the line. But the group is going to be tough. Like I said, you can take care of business each and every time, or business can take care of you. 2 more matches coming up in Charlotte and Chicago, and then it's the World Cup. 76 days, I think, 75, somewhere in there. But I think a realistic expectation for the number 15 team in the world is to be in the round of 16 and see what happens. So we'll get into groups here in just a sec. Okay. I don't know, Michael, I don't know if, since they're preseason friendlies and they're teams that are ranked above you, I don't know how that works. You know, it's like a non-region game or a non-conference game. Do you sit there and you ding somebody for losing a non-conference game to a higher-ranked opponent? It would mean more to the higher-ranked opponent, to a Belgium or a Portugal, if they lost. I don't know if you ding the U.S. in that. Strength of schedule, obviously, and the math doesn't hurt. And I don't know if you should. I don't know if you should ding them and have them go lower. I think that going up against the number 15, going up against 2 top 10 teams as the number 15 team in the world, I don't think you should get dinged that much. And if you did math and whatever power rankings are and those kinds of things, I don't know if you should get dinged, even if the math is involved. And I don't know if, like, you know, when you vote for the Heisman, you've got a deadline. I don't know if that deadline for the World Cup is there, or if you're going to, because of friendlies and such, leading into the World Cup, going into the World Cup, you have all this stuff going on. I mean, look, Argentina, when they played, was it Mauritania? Argentina playing Mauritania. I think that's going to boost Mauritania more than it would dinging Argentina, even if you beat them. You know, your power rankings, your margins between the teams around you might get a little lower if you're grading in this time of year anyway. So I don't know. I don't know when they grade and when they don't. But I think losing to 2 of the teams that are above you in the standings, I don't think that necessarily dings you. I think it improves your strength of schedule, but I don't think it dings your overall rating. So I think that they're still the number 15 team in the country, in the world. And like I said, I think realistic expectation as number 15 is to be into the round of 16. Just to take that math and going forward. Oh, wow. Okay, so we're past the top of the hour. Let's get into what else happened yesterday and who else got in. And it was 4 in Europe, and it was 2 in the Intercontinentals. And the last Intercontinental started at 11 o'clock last night. And it was a great game between Bolivia and Iraq. And Iraq makes it into the World Cup. And it's great to see that happen for the first time in a long time. And it was a back and forth game and had a lot of excitement attached to it. And our friend Tyler Terrens was on the call for that on Big FOX. It was on FS1 last night. So Iraq beats Bolivia 2-1. You got to feel good for Iraq, but obviously you feel incredibly sad for Efren Morales and everything that Bolivia has done to qualify to get into that place and fight for that match to be into the World Cup. But in Monterrey, Iraq beat Bolivia 2-1. The Lions of Mesopotamia qualifying for the first time in 40 years. Ali Al-Hamadi and Ayman Hussein. Al-Hamadi in the 10th, Hussein in the 53rd. And so you get those 2 goals on the board. That happened about 1:05 this morning, by the way. Graham Arnold, who has stuck with this team for a lot of things on the field and off. Graham Arnold gets absolute credit for that one. But then at 5 o'clock, you had DR Congo and Jamaica. And in that matchup, it ends up with DR Congo getting the win. It took longer than 90 minutes for that to happen. And you end up with DR Congo making it in for the first time in a long time there as well. Axel Tuanzebe said it was the most important goal of his career. Understandably so. But it was a great environment. The Congolese traveled. And to see all of them being able to celebrate with their team. DR Congo's ticket, first time in 52 years that the Leopards appeared. Only appearance in the tournament was 52 years ago. And so DR Congo goes in. And they were the two winners of the Intercontinentals, the Intercontinental playoffs. And the last time that DR Congo was in the tournament, they were Zaire. And everybody knows that there's going to be an absolute party, as they say, in Kinshasa, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. But great work by DR Congo. Took longer than 90 minutes. Goes off of Axel Tuanzebe's thigh. Goes in the net. 1-0. They hung on. Jamaica gets right to the edge, but they don't go in. And so you end up with that going for your two Intercontinentals. Then you end up with the matchups in Europe to tell you who 43, 4, 5, and 6 were. 43, 44, 45, and 46. Those four teams were decided in the afternoon. And I don't know where any of you were, but once again, it was nail-biting. It was nail-biting television. It really was. And it was great environments, specifically in, places like, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, where you had the Bosnia and Herzegovina match that goes to penalties. And for the third World Cup in a row, Italy is not going to be in it, which is stunning. But you had Italy get a dog so red in the 41st. They were up a goal. Moise Kean scored in the 14th minute. Bastoni gets a dog so red in the 41st. They have to fight and fight and fight down to 10 men. Bosnia-Herzegovina scores with 11 to go. Goes the extra 30. Goes to PKs. And then, late in the afternoon, here, as we were all heading into Mercedes-Benz Stadium / Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, version 2.0, you had this moment from someone that we have covered on the network a great deal from his time with New England Revolution 2. They've nicknamed him the Milwaukee Messi, Esmir Bayraktarovic, in penalties, but the chance in front of a home crowd to send it home. Here's the call, courtesy of Fox Soccer and UEFA.
Herzegovina to the World Cup. And he does! It got underneath Donnarumma. The Italian curse continues. Bosnia and Herzegovina will play in the FIFA World Cup.
Once again, John Strong's holding on the call there. The stadium itself seated about 13,000. Because of concerns and previous violations, they only allowed 9,000 in. And there was a video that had circulated where the Italian press had gone into the locker rooms in that stadium and where Italy was housed and where they were going to be dressing and showering and all this kind of stuff. Literally, you go walking into the main dressing room, and I swear to God, Donnarumma would have hit his head on the ceiling. But, I mean, it literally was about the size of Office HD. And you had chairs that were about as wide as I'm sitting in, for an entire roster of players. Showers looked like they might have been in the days in the 1980s. But, when you've got the home game, then it's on you. You get to determine, okay, here's where we're playing. But it was a great atmosphere, hot crowd. Esmir Vajraktarovic sends Bosnia-Herzegovina into the World Cup with that PK closer. Czech Republic wins 3-2 over Denmark. Turkey 1-0 over Kosovo. And Sweden, Gyökeres, getting the game winner at a plus 110. Sweden over Poland by the score of 3-2. And so you had 3 matches go longer than 90. And all 3 of them were north of plus 220, if you believe in that kind of thing. And so you ended up with those moments yesterday. And we now know who all is in. We know where they're going to be. And we know the schedule once and for all. So we know where, we know who's going to be playing at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. We know what that's going to happen. And so you end up with, no, I just want the scores and fixtures. I don't want that particular story. I don't care. That's not what I hit. 71 days and 5 hours, by the way. 71 days and just under 6 hours. But yes, the matchup in Atlanta on June 27th, DR Congo and Uzbekistan. I think it's a noon kick. But you get that one in the venue. No, I don't want stages. So let's do this. Let's view groups. Let's go back over the groups now as we know them. Group A, Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, Czechia. Czechia goes in with their win to Group A. Canada, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Qatar, and Switzerland. Jesse Marsh does not get his red out, although he may still call for it. But Bosnia-Herzegovina goes in instead of Italy in Group B. Group C, Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. Group D, the U.S., Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. The U.S. going up against Miguel Almiron and Matias Galarza et al. Group D, Paraguay, Australia, Turkey. That's tough. You can get through it, but it's tough. Group E, Germany, Curacao, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. Group F, Netherlands, Japan, Sweden goes in with their win, and Tunisia. Group G, Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. Group H, Spain, Cabo Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. Group I, France, Senegal, Iraq, and Norway. Group J, almost brought to you by the letter A, Argentina, Algeria, Austria, Jordan. I feel like Animaniacs could probably sing this group song. Group K, Portugal, DR Congo, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. Group L, England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. Speaking of England, if you think that things aren't good here, Japan beats England in a friendly yesterday, and everyone is gripping like you wouldn't believe. Everybody's like, Thomas Tuchel, what are you doing, son? And it was not pretty. So going through the matchups at Atlanta Stadium, Spain and Cabo Verde, that one is noon Eastern, Monday, June 15th. That one starts things off at Atlanta Stadium. Then, next one on the board, Czechia and South Africa, June the 18th. That is also a noon kick. Match 3 in the group stage, Spain and Saudi Arabia, June 21st, Sunday at noon. So you've got 3 noon kicks in June, which means the roof will not be open under any circumstance. Match 4 is going to be at 6 o'clock out of Group C. Morocco and Haiti. Happy birthday to me. June 24th, 6 o'clock, kick Morocco and Haiti. Then, as I sit here and scroll, June 27th, 7:30 Eastern, Group K, DR Congo and Uzbekistan. That one's on the 27th. So those are your matchups in the group stage for Atlanta Stadium. First 3 are noon kicks. But it's going to be fun all the way through. You got your groups. You know what's happening at Atlanta Stadium. We now know where we're going from here. Okay. Time to catch up with the UPSL. And I know that we spent a lot of time with the men's national team because it needed to be done. And with the World Cup, we now know the field of 48 is set. We now know the matchups at Atlanta Stadium. First 3 are noon kicks. Last one in the group stage is DR Congo and Uzbekistan, June 27th. So the boss gets that one for a birthday present. So I get one for a birthday present. She gets one for a birthday present in June. But she gets DR Congo and Uzbekistan, a true sicko's delight. And HBO documentary series, 4 years with the men's national team, U.S. against the world, coming May the 12th. So that is up. The trailer is up. Thank you, Dale. So that's going to be that is out and running now. In the UPSL, the schedule is off and running. But our friends at North Georgia United had a really cool moment happen for them as a franchise recently. And it was with one of their players, Jaycee Carpenter. And you know Jaycee from his time in Campbell High School in Smyrna and Cobb County. And he was set to go to the University of North Greenville. But his career path and what he wants to do away from the field has taken him in a different direction. But his time at North Georgia United has given him an opportunity to get a tryout and go to a camp in Spain. And now that he's back on this side of the Atlantic, we wanted to catch up with him for a little bit and find out what that experience was like. And so we're going to play a little bit of this interview with Jaycee Carpenter, then come back on the flip side. And we're going to go through all the other news that's going on. We've got Open Cup to get into. We've got Cupsets to get into. We've got all the things to get into starting at the bottom of the hour. But Jaycee Carpenter had a really cool moment for a very, very young man who has just he's finished high school and he's trying to figure out what he wants to do on the field and off. Sounds like on the field he knows. But here's when we caught up with Jaycee Carpenter the other day, once again, recent graduate, Campbell High School, North Georgia United, UPSL. And then he gets a ring from Sporting Gijon, and he ends up at a camp in the Segunda in Spain. Here's a little bit of our conversation with Jaycee Carpenter. Enjoy. So I guess first off, Jaycee, how does it feel to be back on this side of the Atlantic after everything had happened?
You know, it feels good. I mean, my parents, my family are all here. So, I mean, yeah, it's nice to see them again. And, yeah, I mean, low-key, I do prefer Spain. Like the weather, everything's over there is better. The food is better. So, I mean.
We'll get into that. Since you opened that door, I want to get into that here in a second. But what I want to do for folks that may not know your entire story, I want to introduce you to everyone. Obviously, folks at North Georgia United and the fan base up there, they know what you've meant to them and all of your different stages. So I want to go back to the beginning and your relationship with North Georgia United. How did that come to be? How did the two of you get introduced to one another, and what's it been like for you there?
Okay. So I started playing for North Georgia like senior year of high school, I would say. So the fall right before the spring season. And I was just looking to play UPSL, and I know Sal, and the coach was Kenneth at the time as well. Mm-hmm. And we just went, me and my brother, for like a tryout one day for a practice. I think I emailed him, and they, liked us, and we just stuck with them. And it's been great. Yeah.
And for those that may not know your history, it's attached to Campbell High School there in Smyrna. Is it Smyrna, Smynington, or is it true? Yeah. Is it true Smyrna?
Smyrna.
Okay, straight. So it's not like on the border of Smyrna and Vinings, or Smyrna and Mableton and Vinings in that little triangle.
No, it's straight Smyrna. Yeah,
straight Smyrna.
Yeah.
So when you were at Campbell, what did you carry with you from your high school years? Obviously, then you go from there and get some activity there in UPSL, and folks may know you from your time at NGU and what that has been like. So, when you came out of college, you said you wanted to play NPSL, and you're associated with NGU. What trying to navigate all of that and try to be ready for that next level. What did you think that you needed to work on leaving Campbell and heading to the next level, whether it was UPSL or college or eventually the tryout? What did you think you still needed to work on?
I think for me, it's always been like the physical. I've been trying to get faster, stronger. Like the strong parts of my game are on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Everything on the ball. I think that's the special part of me. But also it's the speed and just thinking quicker and just knowing what you're going to do before you get it. I think that's the main thing. And also being like gritty.
Okay.
Being gritty as well.
Because GHSA and that region that you're in there in Cobb County, I mean, it is knock down, drag out. You're knocking each other around, and I mean, it is nothing to be messed with. So I understand getting that foundation of being gritty and surviving that, and in the higher classifications in 6A. I mean, in Georgia in the GHSA.
Yeah.
But when you went into the UPSL, how did that and your time at North Georgia United help? How did it help you continue to grow in that what you were looking to get better at? How was that next stage for you there with the UPSL?
I mean, I think I was like one of the youngest players on the team. So everyone's like 20s, 30s, I don't know. And so, yeah, they're physical, they're bigger, stronger. So, yeah, you just have to like adjust, every day in practice. You just learn. Yeah. So,
I mean, you're kind of sitting there and you're saying it by yourself. You're the youngest dude out there going up against some 20-somethings. That's going to get you gritty quick, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah. If you want to play, yeah.
Then how did the conversation happen to go overseas? How did that happen? How did were they tracking your tapes and all of the video that you would post? How did this come to be?
So the opportunity in Spain came from a bit earlier, like when I was, I think I was 17, 16. It was when I played ECNL. ECNL. And I was at a showcase, and there was like a scout there, and we just saw me play, and we just kind of kept in contact. And I had some film, like highlight videos, and I would send it to him, and he would, send it over to his connections over there in Spain. And they offered me to go on trial with them for 2 weeks, and that's how it came to be.
Okay, so then break this down for me. So how long ago was this? When did they make that first contact about, hey, we want you to come over?
ECNL year, I was under 17s, so I would say like 2024.
Okay, so 2 years ago. And then the recent contact where they really started to look at your stuff and they're like, okay, we need you over here now to come over here in 2 weeks. When did that happen?
We started talking in the last fall, 2025.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you go over. How much of did you go over by yourself? Did parents, did anybody go over with you as kind of like a sounding board or anything? Who else went over?
Just me. Yeah, just me. Went over there, and the staff was already there. Someone came pick me up from the airport, from the club. Saw me. All 3 flights.
All right. So, how long a flight are we talking here? How many different flights are we? How many stopovers and all of the chaos to get from there to here? How long a journey are we talking?
All right. It's from here. It was from here to Paris to Madrid, and then Madrid to Gijón, which is the north of Spain. Yeah.
And how much of a culture shock was it for you when you finished all your flights, then you're heading to Gijón? I mean, how much of a culture shock, how much of a shock to your system, not the athlete you, but to the person you, was this, 18, 19 years old, heading over there and seeing this entirely different part of the planet? What was that like for you?
Oh, it was cool. Yeah, it was just everyone's just speaking. It sounds like just gibberish. Just everyone's just speaking a whole different language. Yeah, it was the culture.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in France, I didn't really spend too much time in France, so I wouldn't know. But in Spain, it's very nice and the people are very welcoming and they take care of you. So
when it came to the language barrier and having to tackle that to make sure that you understood just everything from basic conversation to what they were wanting of you on the field, how did you cross that line, and what was communication like?
So in the club, they would have like at least one lady would know English, so she would translate pretty much everyone. And yeah, it would just be the lady. And then the coaches, yes, that was the rough part. Like in the training, they would pretty much speak Spanish. But I mean, I was learning Spanish before just so I could understand here and there some sayings that they're saying. But yeah, it was a bit rough in the training sessions. But
and that was why I wanted to ask, because how much Spanish had you had in high school or anything, or was that a second language for you, or how much exposure have you had in the past?
I took 3 Spanish classes in high school.
Okay.
But I think you learn best by speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I would speak here and there, like play indoor games like futsal and stuff. There'll be mostly Spanish guys, but
okay.
Yeah.
So how was your learning curve and trying to understand what the coaches were asking of you when you didn't have the I imagine the staff translator? Was she? I don't think she was there with you at practice, was she?
No, she wasn't. No.
Right. So then how are you trying to learn what they're looking from you in this tryout situation? Because going in, there's pressure on one aspect of it because you want to perform. Then there's the internal pressure of, while you're there, trying to understand what their demands are of you so you can show them what you are capable of. So I imagine there's a lot going on mentally, both in the idea of trying to understand them and then implement just what they're trying to have you do out there on the pitch. What was that process like for you?
Really, I would understand like most of the point. Like they would show the point of the drill. Like they would walk over it first before like going full speed, and then they would I mean, if I didn't understand, I would just ask a team, like the teammate. Some of them knew English, so I mean, not good English, but some of them I could understand like what they're telling me. So yeah, I would just ask them if I didn't understand it.
Okay.
Have to learn fast. Yeah.
So how fast did you learn?
Yeah, it was pretty fast. Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Yeah, he explained the drill. He would show it like one time. I mean, I pretty much got I got the concepts pretty quick. So, yeah.
There we go. I don't know why. This is the one thing that I've yet to learn when it comes to this thing. It's like when you're trying to dump out of one thing and go to another, how quickly it happens. So sorry about that. So that's part of our conversation with Jaycee Carpenter. And it was a really cool conversation. And yeah, and I think Abby, I think Jaycee's mom was making dinner. By birth, by heritage, Jaycee's family is Tanzanian. And so it's it was a great opportunity for us to kind of learn about Jaycee and his time and his growth and everything. That interview will go up in its entirety in podcast form coming up later this afternoon. So that was once again, that was part of our conversation, and that's the kind of the beginning of our UPSL coverage on Wednesdays. Traditionally about 9:30, we're going to start, since UPSL is kind of kicking off and running here in the state of Georgia with UPSL Georgia here in the spring, getting into the summer schedule. It is going to be an opportunity for us to tell you the stories and let you know what's going on in the UPSL every week. So that's our first one, catching up with Jaycee Carpenter and finding out what it's like with Sporting Gijon in the Segunda in Spain. He has 2 more decisions that he has to make along with his family. The first decision has to do with an opportunity to go back for another camp next month. And then as he wants to pursue a career in dentistry, and he found that out, that you thought it was kind of cool when he actually went for a dental appointment. And so that's kind of how his interest started. He's trying to figure out how to pursue a career in dentistry or orthodonture and continue learning and keep playing soccer. And if these camps continue, there's one in April and then there's another in August. And so he has to make some decisions about next month and then the summer and going back to Sporting Gijon in the Segunda. And it is really cool to kind of see how that's growing for him going forward. So like I said, that's part of an interview that we did with Jaycee Carpenter at North Georgia United, Campbell High grad, opportunity with Sporting Gijon in the Segunda in Spain. And so that'll be up on the audio side in just a little bit. Now I've got to try and do a little TV magic here because I want to show something that actually does qualify as something like breaking news. So I'm going to hit the breaking news sounder because this is a very cool moment for those of us here at SDH. All right, so this is where I get to share a screen with you because it is an email that I just received, and it is coming from the Atlanta Press Club. So let me see if I can do this the right way. I'm going to share the screen. So here we go. I think I've got it, and you'll see my email, and you'll see all the junk that I have in it. And I'm going to share this screen with you, and it's a cool moment. So if you would please be able to share your congratulations with this particular individual. So where is it? So let me go to this one. Let me see if I can do this simultaneously here. So let me go here. Is that going to work? No. All right. So I don't think that worked. Did that work? No, it did not. Okay, so hang on. I chose the wrong screen to share. So let me come back out. I'm going to come back out here for a second because I hit the wrong button. So it was in that email, but I didn't hit the right email. So hang on. So is it this one? No, hang on. No, it's not giving it to me. All right, well, that's dumb. Okay, so that one. Is that it? Let me see if that's it. Is that the one? All right, this might be it. So hang on. Yes, there it is. Okay, so this is from the Atlanta Press Club. And the Atlanta Press Club Awards are May the 6th. You'll notice the name in the Rising Star finalists. You see that third name right there? That's our Sophia Cupertino. Finalist in the Rising Star category from the Atlanta Press Club for 2025 and 2026. So right there, let me see if I can grab my cursor. If it's not going to, I don't think it's going to work the cursor there, but you see that third name, Rising Star finalist, Atlanta Press Club Awards, May the 6th, our Sophia Cupertino. And we could not be more proud of Sophia and what she is and just how incredibly insane she is to be a part of everything here. So there you go. That's your breaking news. Sophia is finalist, Rising Star category, Atlanta Press Club 2026. Those awards come out May the 6th, but it's an opportunity for SDH to sit there and go, you know what? We got some really cool people that do great work. Maddie, Sophia, Vanessa, Drew, Nick, Jarrett, Jason, myself, the fact that you guys all put up with us, but that's a really cool moment for Sophia. And to be able to share that with all of you guys, because I just got the email like 10 minutes ago. So official, Sophia Cupertino, finalist, Atlanta Press Club Awards for 2026. So very, very cool stuff there. So if you reach out to her, wait until about noon so I can actually share the news with her first, like on socials and stuff. So let me send the email to Sophia, and then we can sit there and we can let everybody know what's going on. So very, very cool stuff. Sophia Cupertino, finalist for the Atlanta Press Club Awards here in 2026. So very, very cool. And we could not be more proud of being able to be that kind of an environment where we can, let people shine and to be able to let people run, basically. And it's an opportunity for us to be able to tell those stories that we like to tell, and to be able to let you know what's going on when it comes to what we've been building here in season number 10. So very, very cool stuff there. And let me see if I'll do a screen cap when the show's over. But anyway, Sophia Cupertino, nicely done. Could not be more proud. There you go. So Sophia's a finalist. All right. So we got to get into other things before we get out of here. So we'll get into Open Cup. Open Cup, very, very busy time. Very, very busy. Very, very busy. And last night we had a couple of cup sets. So going over the scores from last night to let you know what went down in Open Cup. You had a lot of teams that were somewhat of prohibitive favorites. And it was 6 matches last night. It is 10 matches today. So last night, it took a while, but one Knox went to UNC Asheville and knocked off Asheville City, and that happened in PKs. And you ended up with a win for one Knox 2-1. Basically, they won in PKs. It was 1-1 after 90. It was 1-1 after 120. One Knox wins it in penalties. I think it was 4-3 in penalties. And so one Knox, who was playing with 9, by the way, they had two red cards, and Asheville City ended up in north of 90 minutes getting a red card on their own. So the game finished 10-9. It was 11-9 at one point. And Asheville City had to find a way to equalize. They send it to north of 90 minutes. They go to PKs. And Asheville City missed their first PK, and then one Knox won in PKs 4-3. So one Knox gets the win in PKs, 2-1 on the night, and one Knox advances to the next round of 32, because next round is when the teams from Major League Soccer join in for the round of 32. That announcement is tomorrow. We'll keep an eye on that one for you, in addition to the results from last night. Pittsburgh Riverhounds knocked off Virginia Dream 2-0 at a -400. And you had FC Naples knocking off CFL America Spurs 3-0. Late night, Sacramento put 4 goals on the board in the first half, and they end up beating Valley 5-9 at Clovis High in Clovis, California, Clovis East. That was the late game last night at 4-0. But you had some cup sets, and Dell, you might want to cover your ears. Go ahead and do this one first so Dell can cover his ears and come back to us. Charlotte and Charleston. Charlotte had a 2-0 lead, and then you had Charleston Battery come back and score 2 goals in 8 minutes to tie it at 2-2. And then it goes into north of 90, and then you end up later than late, and I mean later than late. You end up with an opportunity for a former player to come back against his old club and remind them that they probably should not have gotten rid of that particular player in the first place. So here's the highlight of highlights. If you're a Charlotte Independence fan, courtesy of our friends at Paramount Plus and the U.S. Open Cup, the eventual game winner at the death for Charlotte Independence in a big back-and-forth game last night.
Into the waning minutes of extra time here. Ortiz able to create space. He has options. It's Ortiz! You couldn't script it any better. Vigo Ortiz against his former club might have just won it for Charlotte Independence. 3-2.
Ortiz scoring in the 118th minute. Charleston was playing with 10, getting a red card at 90+7, winning that game 3-2 at Matthews. That was one cup set. So Charlotte Independence advances. We are efforting response out of Charlotte if they are, in fact, awake, which we doubt. Then the other cup set on the night. Union Omaha, Los Bujos, the Murder Owls, they go to the Michael Carroll Stadium on the campus of Indiana University, Purdue, University of Indianapolis, Ooey Pooey as they call it, and you end up with 2 goals in an 8-minute time span. Indy was playing with 10 at the time, and the first goal comes in the 75th minute. Samuel Kwaku Owusu, first goal on the board for Union Omaha as they take the lead on the road.
Gutierrez whips in a good ball, and the header is in! Samuel Owusu with a thunderous header into the back of the net. And with 15 minutes left to play, Union Omaha strike first in Indy.
And they did strike first. And as a matter of fact, they would strike second a few minutes later. Kempish Tequila. And go ahead, and I know the song's going to be in your head. I'm not going to say it. 8 minutes later, 2 goals in 8 minutes. Union Omaha gets a 2-0 lead on Indy 11 on the road. Cup set coming.
Difficult to beat, not only in Open Cup, but USL League One as well. Watch out.
Good pressure here from Tequila. And Union Omaha could be in here with Bill Hart. Kempis Tequila to seal the deal. You better believe it. He scores. The German, clinical in the final third. And it could be the goal that sends Union Omaha back to the round of 32.
And it would be. The Union Omaha lead would go to 2-1 late. Indy 11 would get a goal from a Jack Blake at 90+3, but that would not be enough. So Union Omaha would win in the second round, phase 1, to go into the round of 32, from one round of 32 to the other round of 32. And so Union Omaha goes on the road, knocks off Indy 11 by the score of 2-1. And so that was what happened last night. You had 6 matches yesterday. You have 10 of them today. And once again, this will set up the 16 that move forward to be a part of the round of 32 with MLS teams. Once again, the draw's on Thursday. So your numbers in this one, all your juice boxes. Chattanooga and Tennessee Tempo. This one is at Fort Finley and Chattanooga FC at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock in this weather. That turf, I mean, at least it's early in the season, so it won't be too bad. Chattanooga FC, once again, and all these are on Paramount Plus. Chattanooga FC hosting Tennessee Tempo at Fort Finley. That one is Chattanooga FC at a -295. The total, the over-under, is at 2.5. And so fairly attainable total. Chattanooga FC at 6 o'clock. They are at a -295 right now in the composite. 6:30 in Richmond, Virginia at the former City Stadium. It's got a sponsor, but I always call it City Stadium. Richmond Kickers hosting Loudoun United. Loudoun is favored at a -118, draws a +240 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal, and Richmond is a +260. 3 of them at 7 o'clock. It is Westchester SC and Vermont Green. Remember the crowd that was at Vermont Green last time for their matchup against Portland Hearts of Pine. Virtue Field, Burlington, Vermont, 7 o'clock. Vermont Green is a +125. Westchester on the road. The total, once again, over-under of 2.5. And It is Vermont Green at a +120 at odds portal. Westchester SC on the road at +170, draws a +229. And in the Bluegrass Derby, Lexington SC and Lou City. This one will be fun. Lou City right now is a +114. Lex SC is a +185, draws a +240. Remember what we were talking about the other day, where the juice box purveyors, if they really don't have an idea, they just kind of settle on a number and they just kind of cut and paste. Right now, the cut and pasters on the draw are either at a +229 or a +240. You're going to hear those numbers a lot. Rhode Island and Hartford Athletic for supremacy in the Northeast at Centerville Bank Stadium in Pawtucket. Once again, the total 2.5. And like I said, I just think that the juice box purveyors, they're just like, yeah, total 2.5. Why not? So Rhode Island FC is favored at home in Pawtucket at a +110 in the composite. Draw is, guess, a +240, and Hartford Athletic is a +200. Widener Field, downtown Colorado Springs, Colorado. Colorado Springs Switchbacks hosting Spokane Velocity. Colorado -161, draws a +280. Spokane is a +340. San Antonio hosting FC Tulsa. San Antonio FC is a +100. Even money in that one at Toyota Field, and they're taking on FC Tulsa on the road. And so FC Tulsa is a decided underdog at a +229. That's interesting. The Lab, New Mexico United hosting El Paso, and so you have that particular derby out there in West Texas and New Mexico rearing its head again. New Mexico United, a +110, and it is El Paso Locomotive, who is the underdog at, and it's not going to be at the Lab. It's going to be actually at the UNM Soccer Complex in Albuquerque, so it's going to be at a different location, but still New Mexico United is favored, and it is a decent number of them being favored. New Mexico United a +110, El Paso's a +200. The draw is a +229 for the second match in a row. Your late game at Championship Soccer Stadium and the complex in Irvine, California. It is Orange County hosting Phoenix Rising, so it's USL Championship on USL Championship. The over-under, guess what? 2.5. Who knew? Orange County is favored, and in that particular matchup, they are a -102 in the composite, and Phoenix is a +250. So we'll be keeping an eye on those matches and let you know what's going on with all of that tomorrow as well. Like I said, we're efforting Charlotte. Any other cup sets that might happen tonight, we'll try and have them. We'll try and squeeze them into the show at any point, because remember, tomorrow's show, we're coming on 5 minutes early because Rob Valentino is joining us from U.S. Soccer at 9 o'clock. Jen Hildreth at 9:45. And the Power Hour with Nino and Nico is coming on at 10. And it's going to be Kira Krinian, the head coach of the USWNT U17s that are heading to the U17 World Cup. That's going to be an added time tomorrow. So, yeah, we're going long. We're taping that interview this afternoon, and we're going to be able to catch up to all of that. Yeah, Kempish Tequila, exactly. Yes, yeah. Pee Wee Herman in your head. I was just thinking the original tune because I'm 700 years old. Now, friendlies from yesterday. Everybody's gripping about what happened with England and their loss to Japan. And shout out, by the way, shout out to the Japanese fans that were there for the match, because when the match was over, get this, when the match was over, they cleaned up after they cleaned up their own fans. It's like they cleaned up their space. So massive upside to all of them. Very, very cool that they did that. Also in your friendlies yesterday, just to kind of give you an idea as to what went down. Spain, goalless draw with Egypt. Netherlands had to play an entire match basically with 10, and then they drew Ecuador. So you had Argentina knocking off Zambia, 5-0, final send-off for the World Cup. Messi obviously emotional because everyone is pretty much under the impression that this is his last cycle playing for Argentina, and so one of the last matches that he would play in country leading into a World Cup situation, and a 5-0 win. Brazil beat Croatia 3-1 in Orlando. Morocco over Paraguay 2-1. Senegal over Gambia 3-1. Ivory Coast beat Scotland 1-0. And so you end up with those friendlies yesterday, but everyone in Britain is gripping. Everyone in Britain is gripping about what happened in the loss. And so Thomas Tuchel had an experimental lineup by most applications of it. And so he wanted to try to have a fun matchup No Harry Kane because, once again, injured, sore foot. And so you end up with a 4-2-4. Cole Palmer and Phil Foden as twin number 10s. Jordan Pickford concedes for the first time at the international level since October 24, when Karumi Toma beat him in the first half. 922 minutes without giving up a goal internationally, Jordan Pickford. Japan gets the victory. Once again, Tuchel has played 3 nations ranked in FIFA's top 20. 3-1 loss at the end of last year against Senegal, who are at 14. The 1-1 draw Friday against Uruguay, who's at 17. And then the loss to Japan. England fans booing after the match was over. Starts with Morgan Rogers on the right, Anthony Gordon on the left, Palmer and Foden as your 2 number 10s. And then you had getting close in the 12th minute, Palmer, Gordon, Mark Gahey, who is captain, shots blocked in succession. A lot of the shine went to Elliot Anderson and reinforced why you got a lot of clubs who are interested in him and getting him away from Nottingham Forest. And so Japan 3-4-2-1, and they could not, and England could not find any gaps in Japan defensively, and it was just a rough day overall. So White, Konsa, Gahey, O'Reilly, Anderson, Kobe Mainu, Cole Palmer, Morgan Rogers, Phil Foden, Anthony Gordon. That was the lineup to start for England. And the subs in the matchup, and it was 8 that were used by Thomas Tuchel. Harry Maguire, we got news on him coming up in a sec. Subbed in with 7 to go. Marcus Rashford played 20. Dan Burn came in the 83rd. Dominic Solanke came in with 30 to go, as did Jared Bowen, Livramento, and Lewis Hall. And James Garner came in with about 20 to go. So that was the fun part with that matchup. And so it was how do we say, intriguing. And everybody in England is gripping. So with that matchup, he went 4-2-4. Thomas Tuchel did, and everybody realized that Karumi Toma gets the goal on the board. There is no second Harry Kane. Thomas Tuchel admitted that in the loss yesterday. So that was what happened in the friendlies. And you end up with everybody just completely and totally losing their minds in England over a 1-0 loss to Japan. News on Chelsea. We'll get into the Harry Maguire stuff coming up in a sec. Chelsea breaks the English football record with a £262.4 million pre-tax loss for 24-25. That is 1/3 higher than Manchester City's record in 2010-2011, £197.5 million. The club is compliant with the PSR rules for 3 years to 24-25. And now you've got to come up with basically a $150 million profit on the books over the next 2 windows, or you're in violation of PSR. Club posted a profit of 128.4 in the previous year's accounts, boosted by the sale of the women's team to Blueco Midco. Remember, one of the 24 subsidiaries, for almost $200 million. Losses attributed in part of the increased operating costs in 24-25 compared to the previous year. Revenue just under £491 million, second highest on record. Included some of the money from last summer's triumphant Club World Cup run. Chelsea deemed compliant with PSR for the 3-year period ending 24-25. Rules allow for maximum losses of $105 million over 3 years. Some of the losses clubs post in their financial reports can be added back under PSR, Infrastructure, Youth Development, Women's Football. Understood the add-backs of permitted losses ensured Chelsea were deemed PSR compliant for 24-25. No clubs have been charged with PSR breaches for the period ending with the 25-26 season either. According to Wire reports from The Guardian, source close to Chelsea believed to be confident the club are now fully structured to comply with all regulatory requirements. Expect to remain compliant. Understood to include compliance with UEFA's football earnings rule. Last July, Chelsea fined €20 million, £17.3 million for breaching, with a further fine of over £50 million payable if compliance was not achieved over a 4-year period. Club did not publish full accounts on the website this morning. Understood, submitted to Companies House. Basically, that's like the taxman's accountant, like that's like that, and not the Better Business Bureau, but like the Securities and Exchange Commission kind of. So Chelsea believed to be forecasting revenue of over £700 million for the 25-26 season. Chelsea spent around £1.5 billion on transfers as of last summer since Bully Clearlake took over. Club sources say their transfer sales figures last summer the highest in Premier League history. Club insiders also say Chelsea's spending on agents was at or below the Premier League average. Chelsea understood to be anticipating a financial rather than a sporting sanction from the FA after admitting to breaches of the rules regarding the payments of agents under the ownership of Roman Abramovich. Then any fines incurred set to be covered by money held back by Bully Clearlake when they bought the club. Club avoided a points deduction after entering into a sanction agreement with the Premier League, who investigated another £47.5 million of undisclosed payments during the Abramovich era. They were fined almost £11 million, given a one-year suspended transfer ban. Chelsea's women's team posted a loss of £17.1 million despite generating $21.3 in revenue. February UEFA report put Chelsea's losses for 25 at even higher, €407 million. Clubs say the difference between that loss figure and the one reported on Wednesday is due to different reporting requirements applied by Europeans' governing body. So that is that's the rundown there. But yeah, Graham Potter takes Sweden to the World Cup. Nicely done there. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Oh, we were going to get into the Harry Maguire thing. So Harry Maguire was announced. Let's see. The FA confirmed that Harry Maguire has been charged with improper conduct after being sent off against Bournemouth. Has until April the 2nd to provide a response. This goes back on Friday, March the 20th. Alleged by the FA that the defender acted in an improper manner and or used abusive and or insulting words and or behavior towards the fourth. Following his dismissal, he has until Thursday, April 2 to provide a response. So that is the quick news on Harry Maguire. 71 days to go, by the way. And news on De Zerbi to Spurs. Obviously, you have folks who have spoken out. You have fan groups that have spoken out against the hiring already. And it is not a fun time right now at Spurs. And so Jack Pitt-Brooke over at The Athletic did the deep dive into the appointment of De Zerbi. There was interest in De Zerbi dating all the way back to the sacking of Thomas Frank. February 11th, De Zerbi left Marseille by mutual consent. When we had Ben Jacobs on, he mentioned Fabio Paratici, who had by this point left Spurs for Fiorentina, argued the case internally for pursuing De Zerbi. Timing didn't work as De Zerbi just separated from Marseille. He wanted to wait. And so then Spurs ended up going for another Paratici recommendation, Igor Tudor. And so that's where they are. And so it is a 5-year deal, apparently. And as Ben made the point, what happens if they're relegated? Does that give De Zerbi an out? Does that give De Zerbi an out if they get relegated from that deal? Or is he stuck? That we'll find out. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Then what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Let's see. Barcelona's Rashford clause limit is June the 15th. So we'll keep an eye on that number in the books as we keep an eye on what's going on there. Then let's see. Transfer talk. As we buzz through all of the rumors. Real Madrid could go out to sign a new star striker in the summer of 27. Ekitike at Liverpool has emerged as an attractive option according to Team Talk, high on their radar. 17 goals in 42 appearances. Ekitike's situation at Liverpool being, quote, closely monitored. They're also tracking Erling Haaland, but have been put off by the €200 million fee. Liverpool shortlisted Juve's Conceição, who we got to see over here in the state, well, actually against Mexico on Saturday. Potential replacement for the departing Mo Salah, according to Gazzetta dello Sport. 6 goal involvements in Serie A this year, joining from Porto for €32 million under contract through 2030. Reluctant to lose, Conceição believed a bid in excess of €25 million could bring them to the negotiating table. Manchester United pole position to sign Toulouse centre-back Charlie Cresswell in the summer, according to Team Talk, one of the top young English defenders around. England U21 international, previously attracted attention from West Ham, Sunderland, and Spurs. United looking to strengthen their defense in the Ligue 1 club will command a reachable fee, 25 to 30 million euro. Manchester City ahead of rivals. United in the race to sign Elliot Anderson. We mentioned Elliot Anderson a bit ago. Both Manchester clubs wary could further increase his £100 million evaluation. United aren't willing to give up on signing him just yet. Barcelona will attempt to sign Andres Sheldrup if a permanent deal for Marcus Rashford can't be agreed to, according to Record. Record suggesting Benfica expect to lose their star forward this summer, who's getting a lot of interest. Sheldrup scored his first senior goal for Norway West last week, has a €100 million release clause in his contract. Three-letter paper says Sandro Tonali could be allowed to leave this summer. Manchester United leading the chase. United could move for Joao Gomes from Wolves, who could be available for around £40 million if Wolves go down. That's from our friends at Caught Offside. Tino Livramento, Newcastle, Arsenal, and Manchester City, they are waiting. They're looking. If Newcastle fail to agree to a new contract with him, Bayern Munich aren't actively pursuing a move for Phil Foden, as his transfer value significantly exceeds their budget they have for an attacking player. That's from Guild. Rafael Guerreiro's next club could be Benfica, according to Christian Falk, after he announced his decision to leave Bayern at the end of the year. The Bavarian Giants have already lined up Feyenoord's Javier Red as a potential replacement. Joshua Zirkzee eager to stay at Manchester United this season because he believes he'll be given a chance under Michael Carrick. That's from the four-letter paper. Real Madrid have been offered fresh hope in their efforts to sign Nico Schlotterbeck after the defender denied reports he has agreed to a new contract with Borussia Dortmund. Chelsea left-back Marc Cucurella refused to rule out a return to his former club, Barcelona, in the future, three-letter paper. A highly rated Midtjylland forward Franculino Ju is wanted by a lot of Premier League, La Liga, and Bundesliga clubs. That's from Foot Mercato. Juve defender Gleison Bremer, €54 million release clause in his contract that becomes active on July 1st. Milan, AC Milan, Napoli, Porto, PSV have their sights set on Augsburg midfielder Mert Komur, who could be on the move this summer if there is a bid lodged that the team likes. Hoffenheim also pushing to extend Turkish international Ozan Kabak's contract at the club, set to expire at the end of the year. That's from our friends at Sky Germany. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And you do that with our help from our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important, helps them, helps us, helps you. Adding more matches to everything you're already watching with Fanatis, you get BN Sports, you get all the BNs. Home of AFCON, CAF, AFC Champions League, men's and women's. You get the French League, the Turkish League, and you get the Polish League this year with all the BNs. You get Copa Libertadores, Copa Sudamericana. You get links to Tigo Sports, Copa Argentina. You get CATV links as well. You have TVV if you want to add Venezuela to the package, if you want to go down that route. CDO, CDO2, Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. A lot of these South American A and B divisions. So if you're a real sicko, and you can also keep up with folks like Luis Abram, Santi Sosa, LGP, all that. You can do that at Fanatis. Now, you get all of that in one place, one subscription, one home. Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. So what's on today? Well, obviously, you've got all the Open Cup stuff. You can get that at Paramount Plus. Open Cup on CBS Sports Network is the Colorado Springs Spokane match at 8. Fox Deportes has Honduran League Victoria and Motagua at 9:30. ESPN Plus La Liga 2, Racing Santander, and Sporting Gijon, which was where Jaycee Carpenter got his 2-week camp. So if you want to get a bit of a scouting report, 3:20 on the Plus, La Liga 2, Racing Santander and Sporting Gijon. Fox O&E simulcasting the Honduran match. Golazo Network has Flint City Bucks and Detroit City at 7:30. Orange County and Phoenix is at 10. Flint City and Detroit City, by the way, that's one that we did not have juice boxes for because you have Flint City, which is, I believe, USL League 2, going up against Detroit City in Flint tonight. Paramount Plus has all 10 matches in Open Cup available. YouTube this afternoon, U16 quarterfinals on the boys' side, 2:30 and 6:30 for the Generation Adidas Cup. It's the MLS YouTube channel. Women's action, UEFA Champions League, doubleheader, CBS Sports Network, 12:45 Bayern Munich, Manchester United, 3 o'clock Chelsea and Arsenal. ESPN Deportes is simulcasting those matches. 2 to N8 tonight because they have not sprung forward yet. It is Monterrey and Pumas. Paramount Plus has the UEFA Champions League matches as well. Peacock has the USL Super League at 7 with DC and Lexington, and the Girls GA Cup on the MLS YouTube channel. It is the Royal Academy and Bayern Munich at noon. And Abby, yes. See you soon. Have a wonderful Seder to those who celebrate. So that's what's going on today with what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it here. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. Okay. That is this go-round. Tomorrow, once again, we'll be chasing after all of the Open Cup sets. Rob Valentino joining us right off the clock. We're going to be 5 minutes early, joining at 9, starting at 9. Jen Hildreth parachuting in at 9:45. The power hour after that. And then you have Kira Krinian, the head coach of the U17 women's side that is qualified for the U17 World Cup in Morocco later this year. We're going to tape that today. And we're going added time, and we're going long tomorrow. Then once again, Friday, Chris Doran, opposition research off the top at 9:05. Hopefully our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring at 9:30. And then Apple, we'll get our Apple Voice of the Week at 10 o'clock and get you ready for the weekend. Once again, Taylor Summerall from Calhoun joining us. Red Clay Soccer Report at 12:40. Leading into that, it's going to be news. It's going to be scores. It's going to be rankings and any other kinds of things going on in the Red Clay Soccer Report on the high school side of things. And it's going to be another full day here at SDH. So thanks for hanging out with us as we broke everything down. We know the Field of 48. We know the matches at Atlanta Stadium, Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. And thanks to all of you folks for coming in as you always do. Let me say hi to everybody before we get out of here. It is David, Abby, Dell, Wiley. Let's see. Michael Head, good to have you in this morning. Like I said, I know you're probably over at the golf course. And yes, check in on Nick. We were checking in on him consistently. We were watching the match yesterday with Nick. So keep an eye on all that. So let's see. Dell, Wiley, Greg 1987. Thanks for dropping in. Good to see you here as well. And let's see. Michael and Wiley and Abby and Abby and Michael and Abby and Michael and Abby and Wiley. Morning, Lokeville. Good to have Lokeville in this morning. How are Miggy and Galarza during their games? Lokeville asks. Okay, so let's find out. Let's see how they did, since that is on the board before we get out of here. I know I said we're leaving, and then I get a question, so that's perfectly fine. Paraguay. All right, so Paraguay National. All right, so we're looking. Let's see if they got any minutes last night, first and foremost. Losing to Morocco 2-1. It was Miggy starting in a 4-4-2. So Miggy goes 70 minutes, and it was 20 of 25 passing. Shooting on the evening for Miggy, he had one total shot. It was blocked. Dribbling for Miggy on the night, 45 touches, 2 for 3 on the dribble, fouled 2 times, 2 progressive carries. Longest progressive carry was 23.5 meters. Defensively, Miggy had 9 defensive contributions, 2 of 4 on tackles, 4 picks, a clearance, 6 recoveries, 8 for 10 on his ground duels, 9 of 11 overall. So Miguel Almiron played 70 minutes for Gustavo Alfaro, and Matias Galarza did not play in the second match. So that's your breakdown of Miguel Almiron as to what he did. So let's see. Abby and Dell, and I'm trying to see who else might have joined us this morning. I think, didn't Ricky join us early? I think he did. Let's see. There's Ricky. So Ricky is in this morning. Hello. And Wiley, Ricky, Michael, Dell. I'm sitting here scanning, and I think we got everybody caught up. Okay. High school coming up. Red Clay Soccer Report in about 50 minutes. Scores, rankings, schedules. Taylor Summerall from Calhoun joining us about 12:40. And then we're going to tape our interview with Kira Krinian, and that'll be airing tomorrow in added time. So thanks for hanging out with us as you always do. Mucho Platiel, play it safe. And since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. End of this show, back in 50 for the Red Clay Soccer Report.